Hello and welcome to Mad Owl Goes Racing, and back in Automobilista 2 for, which one is it? Beta 7 release. Brain work. It's too early in the morning for me. Right, let's have a look, see what's changed. This is going to be fairly quick because the next beta is due to drop this afternoon. Whether that's this afternoon our time or whether it's afternoon Monato's time over in Brazil, I'm assuming Brazilian time. But obviously with things changing as fast as they are, there's no point in me waffling on for hours. This is waffling on. Right, updated the showroom scene. Well, I didn't actually show you the show you the showroom. My teeth are working. Basically, it's very similar to the Project Car showroom. At the moment, this is it. You just get to see the car. You can't change the camera yourself. I tried every key combination I could think of. So there's no current camera control, and then at the moment there's no way of taking a photograph of it. So all you get to do is look at how lovely they look and how nice the models are. So that will no doubt change. Enable steering lock setting in setup page. Well, if you go to the start here and get that going in the background. Added drivetrain. I'm sure people are just using English words that are confusing me. Drivetrain setup page. Fixed menu direction on some tabs. Fixed invisible front third spring bump stop input. First pass to loading screen redesign. They're changing the I presume that's the loading screen. I don't know if you noticed. You'll have to rewind. When it was loading up, the bar across the top was a lot bigger. So it's much more obvious. So obvious that I missed it completely whilst it was just happening there. Physics, minor tyre compound revisions for all tyres. That will be a recurring theme probably for the next several months whilst they settle on what they decide is the proper tyre physics. Updated MRX to latest spec sheets and fit proper engines to each variant. I'm assuming they were not quite correct there. Reduced shift delays in manual cars when shifting with paddles. So basically the hit you took if you were using paddles, presumably with an automatic clutch on something that should have had an H pattern, was far too long in their opinion, so they've changed it. Fine-tuned FFB values for several cars. This will be like the minor tyre revisions. Will probably go on for quite some time till I think they've got it as good as it's going to get. AI, adjusted AI consistency spread. That's presumably to stop the problem with like two cars at the front just run off and leave everybody for dead. So there's presumably less gap between them all, so a bit more of a class, I think is the correct term to use at this point, based system, whereby you say like all your drivers are going to be in the sort of clubman class or in the national class or the international, so effectively the spread, so you don't end up with a clubman versus a world champion. I've done that. Where was I? Further performance tuning for dry and wet tyres. Audio, adjusted attenuation range for all engines. Presumably they were a bit too loud at distance, or the other way around. MCR 2000 Caterham Superlight, high RPM looping improved. Still needs polishing. Formula Classic G3 M1 interior sound samples mixing adjusted. Presumably there was a bit too much engine or not enough engine, or I'll have to have a look. Tracks, further adjustments to tarmac ambient reflections. Well, I've set the sun so it's fairly low here, so when we go out you'll probably see you're getting blinded by the reflections off a tarmac. Well, that's what happens in real life. Whether or not they went more or less, I don't know, but we'll have a look. And I might be able to tell no difference at all. Fixed bumpy concrete runoffs, adjusted curb noise, and slightly reduced resistance from gravel traps. Yeah, they were a bit more like death traps. A gravel trap should be there basically to stop you hitting a barrier, they shouldn't be there to stop your race. So it's in sim racing specifically. I'm not talking about necessarily real life. In real life, they're there to stop you killing yourself. Excuse me. Revised 3D patches for Donington. Presumably they're a bit too lumpy. Vehicles, F301, fixed rear tyres pivot points. I'm assuming that means actually suspension travel pivot. Formula Reza, fixed Lodsey wheels disappearing. Yes, you suddenly turn it into hover cars at the wrong distance, so that's always an interesting one. Ultima Race, improved metal and plastic materials. Some people saying the steering wheel was too shiny. Stock V8, improved windscreen and mirror material. Formula Classic G3, added rear light glow, changed backfire flame animation for the G3 M1. Formula Vintage adjusted liveries to better suit each model, and Copa Uno added 2 community liveries because all the liveries are going to be done by people who are in the community. And by that I don't mean they've been let out of prison. Although you never know. Right, let's have a look at the setup screen, because like I said, they've made some changes. Steering lock you can now change, and so now the sort of quick setup bit allows you to change fuel, steering lock, brake balance, front and rear downforce, front and rear anti-roll bar. Again, English file, and I'm English. Right, we now have tyres, brakes and chassis, suspension and drivetrain, and you'll notice the steering lock is greyed out here. I assume they're going to remove that along with fuel, because now you have steering lock here and here. So I presume they forgot about that one. Likewise, drivetrain. We now have fuel in here along with engine and electronics, so things like boost pressure, radiator opening, and all your traction and anti-lock settings. Now these will be available, as somebody was asking about this, those will be available whether or not something has ABS and traction control and everything else, for the very simple reason that if you're using a gamepad or you are just learning and you're sort of new to sim racing, you don't necessarily want to jump in every car and have it as it should come from the factory. Likewise, people who turn everything off because they think they're just whatever reason, when they're there for a reason, which is usually to stop you killing the tyres, especially in things like GT3 cars. They still have to have a setting, although you can change it from the in-car menu. So you still have to have the setting somewhere, so that's why they're there even in cars that don't actually have them. So this is exactly the same as project cars. 2, we have front and rear diff, which, like project cars, you have the different types and you can switch them on and off, and you can actually effectively change what's available on a car potentially. I don't know whether or not you can actually adjust any of these. I don't think you can. Oh, you can on the rear diff. So bizarrely no front diff but rear diff on this one, even though it's 4-wheel drive, and realistically it probably should have a centre diff. Being a Mitsubishi, I think, should have a centre diff, or are they some clever electronic thing that's not really a diff? Can't remember. But obviously that gives you plenty to play with, so if you want to, in theory with a 4-wheel drive car, what you should be able to do is change the I'm going to use the steering stick down here. You can change the balance between the front and the rear, so you can put it more front biased or rear biased. So effectively you can go from like a front wheel drive car to a fully rear wheel drive car, but I'm pretty sure this is meant to have some sort of clever electronic thing that decides what it's going to do, and you can't decide for it. So now we should get some nice rays appearing over the top of the hill over here. Probably can't see them because this thing. Oh, there we go. Nice sunny rays coming over the top of the hill through the trees. Nice sound of turbo spooling. Now there you get a nice. Now that's quite a reasonable amount of sun reflecting off the tarmac. Not too much, not too little. There's a very careful balance. Obviously, whilst you want your sim to be as sim-like as possible, there are certain things where you're going, well, do you really want to blind people? Especially if you're in VR, it gets quite difficult. Because obviously, if you're in VR, your natural reaction is to go, oh, I'm being blinded. And of course it doesn't help, because the sun's inside, not outside. Just trying to think how long Jerez has been open as a circuit. Hey. Cold rear tyres. There we are, racing in winter, so consider it a winter test session at Jerez. Obviously there's a bit of rear bias, but strangely, despite the fact there's a rear bias, the front tyres are heating up more than the rears, so obviously they're doing more work. And don't forget about this horrible chicane. I hope they're going to give us an option to get rid of that, because I can't stand chicanes on nice fast corners. I understand why they do it, yeah, especially following Ayrton's death, where you want people to be safe, but if you're going to kill off all the interesting circuits around the world for the sake of it, please don't. I like fast open tracks, not horrible, tight, twisty little things, although they do have their place. I'm not a huge fan of. And we are slowly getting, again, my ugly mugs. I hope they do get around to putting in the ability to change the HUD sooner rather than later, because it would be nice if I could move it so my mug doesn't get in the way. I could always, whoops. Oh, let's just check out the gravel traps. Oh, that's much better. That was deliberate. Or maybe not. Yeah, it'd be nice. I could move my mug over there, but I've generally set most of the games I play up so that I don't have anything in that corner where my mug is. So I'm hoping maybe on the next couple of builds I'll get to the point of putting in the adjustable HUD. And apparently, if you some reason some tracks don't seem to have the track map. If I go to the options, somebody was saying if you go into gameplay and display and set the HUD to telemetry. Oops, didn't mean to do that. I meant to do that. Oh, you get the telemetry screen, so we can actually. It's a bit of a cheat, because as soon as you change back again, but it does mean you can actually see the FFB meter. Whether or not that's actually telling you anything useful with the current FFB implementation, because they have changed it from what was in Project Cars, so they're using their own FFB code by the sounds of things. theory, you can actually, if you've got a really soft set of tyres, you can actually watch them disappearing before your eyes watching this. So I think that will do for now. I'll just, wrong button. I go and cycle again, I do still get it. Interesting. I just don't get it. Oh, hang on, wrong button. I meant that one. Oh, wrong button. Right. Oh, as you can see, things are progressing. Like I said, there is another build supposed to be coming out this afternoon. So, like I said, I'll try not to waffle for too many minutes. 15's plenty. And I have other things to do, like prepare for an online race this evening in Assetto Corsa Competizione. I'm joining the RWB people to have a hopefully 60 people will turn up and we'll all get to race on a Saturday night. It's better than going down the pub. Right, for now, for me, that'll do. And as always, stay safe, keep sim racing because you can't go out, and enjoy your racing, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.